Trouble, the Lisa Andersen story, take one.
When I think back on my life, I wish I remembered that moment of, going to the beach and seeing it for the first time. How young I was and vulnerable and stuff. I remembered all the trouble I got into or caused. I can't imagine what could have happened if I didn't leave home. I just wouldn't have been able to get far away enough from it to pursue the dream. And surfing is what saved me.
More and more women are taking center stage in sports, like a young lady by the name of Lisa Andersen.
Lisa Andersen.
Lisa Andersen.
Lisa Andersen used to skip school and head to the beach. But when she was 16, she ran away from home.
Lisa Andersen spent 8 years trying to be the best surfer in the world.
And a lot of people are amazed that having a child did not slow you down. Even in competition, you were pregnant.
Yeah, I'm pretty amazed myself. I've been pretty lucky the way it turned out.
I grew up in a really small town in Virginia. A lot of cow farms and, one gas station, one school, really just remote. I mean, I was such a country kid that none of my thoughts were coastal. Maybe like just summer vacation where my dad took us to Cape Hatteras. That's when I first fell in love with the ocean. I have memories of just jumping the waves. When you're a kid and you jump over whitewashes and stuff like that. I remember just never coming out of the water. My parents owned a restaurant in town. Both worked day and night. We had a live-in nanny that took care of myself and my brother. My parents were not really around to, be parents, which gave me a lot of freedom as a kid to just roam around and go on adventures. I was 10 years old, just wandering around and exploring the woods, like getting into trouble, taking risks, like climbing trees, making forts. I remember walking on a frozen lake once and see how far I could go until it started to crack. The economy just got really bad. My parents ended up having to close the restaurant down. My dad decided that moving to Florida would be an easier way of finding a job. I was shattered. You have all your friends and you're so comfortable with your life, the last thing you want to do is move.
That's too close up, Lisa. It'll be a big blur.
No, I got zoom on here.
That what?
Zoom.
That zoom?
I changed schools 4 different times in 1 year, and that made my mind explode. And parents would make me wear hand-me-downs and stuff like that. I was kind of just trying to make friends, and we were just a bunch of nobodies. Off the record, this is painful.
Yeah.
Hi, baby.
Hey. We lived probably about 1 block from the beach, like really close. You could hear the ocean from my house. The feeling that the ocean gives you of like peace, I don't know what it is. It's something about it that balances all your crazy emotions or mood.
Cookie, Lise?
I was a total little boy, so I had to surf because, one, I was already athletic, and yeah, I wanted to try what everyone else was doing and be cool. In Daytona and Ormond and a lot of parts of Florida, there's these streets called approaches where they actually drive down on the beach. My way of trying to meet people was just sit there until someone said something to me. Eventually, someone let me borrow a surfboard and asked me if I wanted to give it a try. You know, once I've got that feeling of being in the water, that's kind of all I wanted to do. The lifestyle right away sucked me in. Everyone just wore shorts and surf trunks and t-shirts and flip-flops. It was just like easy, laid-back culture. I basically only surfed when I could borrow someone's board because I didn't have a board, couldn't afford a board. I remember people on the beach calling me in like, give me my board back. It's enough, one more wave, okay, you're done. My mom just associated surfing with beach bums and druggies and people that just hung out on the beach all day with no job. So every time I went surfing, it created friction between me and my parents. They didn't know what surfing was or anything about it.
And we're going surfing.
You know, I found something I wanted to do so badly, but I was told blatantly, you can't do it, but I would do it anyway. I guess that's where all the trouble started for me.
Imitation of Mom.
My parents, they owned a restaurant, so they were never home. It left a lot of time for me to get up to no good. I felt like I had to be a bad kid to fit into a certain niche because, you know, I wasn't rich and I wasn't like that kid that had, you know, everything.
Get the cigarettes and the beer.
Getting the beer, the Coors Light, man.
I hooked up with the wrong people and started smoking pot and stuff like that. I would miss class because I smoked too much pot, ate too many donuts, threw up. It circulated around like I was always in trouble. So it was like, all right, your nickname is Trouble. I used to hang out at the beach with this group of guys, and one of the guys' names was Ray. I was 15 and he was 24. Ray made me my first board. It was pink, it had blue fins. It was the best day ever. Ray would pick me up from school and we would go like to all the spots that were really far from home and go surf. We would just sit around and get super stoned. Ray was knowledgeable about surfing and making surfboards. He'd teach me about what good surfing was and why certain guys were cool, like Jerry Lopez. We used to have those surf movies where everyone would go into the theater and watch. And that was probably the first time I saw people surfing from other places. I don't think I was ever so amazed to see someone moving inside a tube or even a tube that was like that. It made surfing kind of seem like it was almost impossible to make it coming from where we came from. I guess it's just started to realize that I needed to go surfing other places and surf better waves to get better. My dream at that point was to become a pro surfer. Ray eventually moved out to Southern California and got a job at a surfboard manufacturer. He would write me letters and actually mail me weed. He told me I should move out to California and I could stay with him. So this one time I was at the beach and this friend of mine lent me his scooter. I wound up spending the night at a friend's house and never brought it back. He reported it missing. And the next thing I know, the cops are picking me up. At that point, I had been truant from school, I had run away from home 3 times, and the judge just was not stoked on me. I got locked up in a juvenile facility for like a week. My parents were just fine with that. And after that, I was put on house arrest until I was 19. My dad had a bit of a raging temper. He had a severe drinking problem. I remember him yelling at me about not surfing anymore. My first surfboard was sitting there in the living room. And so he just jumped on it. That was rough. I'd finally found something I was good at, and I had a dream to take it further. I knew I had a way out of this by going to California. I decided it was time to go. My mom had gone and my dad was home with me. He was napping, which he did a lot. I had called a taxi service. I just remember being like, fuck, he just honked the horn, you know? It's gonna wake my dad up, he's gonna bust me. He never heard the car. I just jumped in the taxi and we left. And straight to Orlando. I'd never been to an airport, never been on an airplane before, and started just going up to all the airline counters and asking for how much a one-way ticket to Los Angeles was. All the flights were like in the morning early, so I had to sleep in the airport. They must know I'm running away. I'm this little blonde kid in the airport with a suitcase and a pillow. I just left. No one knew anything. I wrote a note to my mom and it said, one day, I'm gonna be number one. California to me as a kid was just Hollywood, so I didn't really know anything about Huntington. The easiest thing for me to do was be at Main Street because there's so much going on down there that I didn't stand out, and there was a lot of surf. I'd surf all day. I had like a bussing tables job at Mazzotti's restaurant, which was right around the corner. So I was there trying to figure it out, trying to make friends. It was hard because when I told someone I was a runaway from Florida, they wouldn't let me stay with them. It was tough. I moved in with Ray. We lived in this tiny apartment. It was just gross. It smelled weird, and there was a bunch of weirdos living there. There was a shared bathroom down the hall. So every time I went and took a shower, I just thought something bad was gonna happen to me. Contests were every single weekend in California. I was a little bit amazed of how many contests there were. It was like this whole nother level of surfing that I didn't know existed because it was seriousness. It wasn't like stoner beach life. I was ambitious enough to try something that I'd never done. I don't know, it kind of reminds me of like when you go to school the first time and you're the new kid. That's kind of how it felt in surf contest. It was just this mysterious person that no one knew anything about.
A lot of pros would come to town every now and again and surf.
On the left, into the pier, straight up the bottom, up the top.
The competition would be on the south side. But I would be out there just surfing because I would watch heats through the pier pilings while I was surfing. I was just trying to surf like them and then fall off and then be in the way. And then I'd have guys yell at me to get out of the way.
Tom Curran was a huge influence on my surfing. I used to watch tapes of him and just wear them out.
It was like an obsessive thing, just because I wanted to surf as good as the guys.
I remember writing probably 50 letters to everyone in the surf industry, from Quicksilver to Beach Town to Levi's. I wrote everyone I could think of for sponsorship and never got a letter back. They didn't sponsor girls, they didn't make them money. It's a man's sport. Eventually, the guys from Melita Wetsuits noticed me and offered me my first sponsorship. They paid for my contest entries. I got 3 wetsuits, and that was a big deal for me. The guy that ran the team's name was Craig Coleman, and he was a pro surfer, and he was like super fierce coach.
He'd run heats with us, and he'd have like a clipboard, and he'd keep score, and then he'd come in and he'd kind of get at you for just making mistakes. They were really pushing me.
It felt good to have some support. With nowhere else to go, I was just coming back to Ray's apartment every evening. He was super possessive about me, and he always wanted to know where I was. I was basically a young girl living with an older guy, and he took advantage of that. You know, I would just lay like I was frozen. I didn't know what else to do. I just like lay there, and so that wasn't good. Craig from Melita had a pizza night at his house because we'd just won a contest. So I ended up falling asleep on the couch watching a movie and ended up spending the night. The next day I realized that Ray was gonna freak because I just didn't come home. So a girl I knew wound up walking home with me. We got to the door and I heard Ray ride up on his bike. I could hear him climbing the stairs. And just when he got to the very top, I looked at her and I said, "We're running." I could just feel him right there, like almost getting me. Got to my friend's house and we ran straight into her garage. Her parents were like, "What's going on?" And I said, "He's chasing us." So Ray lifts up the garage door and her dad grabs a shotgun. He says, "Get the fuck out of here." And that was it. He was gone. So I ended up moving in with Craig and his roommates. Every weekend there was a contest somewhere. I get a chance to go surf Santa Cruz or Del Mar. Like, there was just so many contests. I was riding for Billabong at the time.
Billabong was one of those companies in the industry that actually supported girls.
I competed as an amateur for a year and then turned pro.
Okay, there goes Lisa, dropping in late. Look for the big backside reentry. She floats up over the soup. Stays with it, hits the whitewater again.
I didn't have the money to travel full time yet. I got like one ticket to go to one event and then, you know, like, I would just barely make an entire tour season. Like, I wasn't consistent.
That was
One of Craig's really good friends was Dave Parmenter, and he was always hanging out at the house. Dave was just a tough person to kind of talk to. The mystery of him, that attracted me, that person that was just kind of rebellious. He was already on tour, and he was kind of famous.
I went to a contest in Santa Cruz with Craig, and then ended up going home with Dave.
trying to pee in a cup now.
I just remember driving south with him after the contest finished, and I guess sort of magic kind of chemistry happened in that drive. He was smart, he was funny.
I'm Brett Garvin, male prostitute.
I was like, I think I'm having some strong feelings here, so what was not to love? I mean, the guy sucked me in. Dave lived in San Luis Obispo, but kind of on the outskirts of town. A former little horse ranch, and it had a lot of acres, and there's feral cats.
Hi, Bubba. You good boy?
It had a shed/garage that he kind of turned into a shaping room where he would shape surfboards. There's just so much coolness about it.
Say hi, everyone, in Daytona Beach, Florida. Hello. Hi, everybody.
I felt way safer and more relaxed because just how fast life is moving in Huntington.
This that I'm feeling.
Being from rural country as a kid, I felt at home.
No! Dave, that's mine! You can't have them all.
Who says?
Me.
It was almost an hour drive every day to the beach, to go check the surf or go surfing. So that was a bit of a mission, and sometimes you got tired of doing that, but also every day was something new, and I think I was just enjoying surfing with someone that I was in love with. It was the best thing ever.
Where's he going? Over there. Way out there? Uh-huh.
All right. You're such a stud.
Lisa Andersen in the first heat. Wasn't able to make it over to Africa, so we found the nearest thing to Jeffreys Bay. And looks like she's caught it. In a classic suit takeoff. She steps down the line and goes down the line. She's going off the top of the incredible off the lid.
Dave and I used to run heats, and then we would go back and review the tape. And a lot of times you take the tapes and slow-mo them and watch your turns. And he would point out different things like foot placement and just moments where I missed a section or just things like that. Or you break down a wave and actually explain how you could have better ridden it. I think Dave had a big part in a lot of things that I learned from surfing, whether it was competitive surfing or just free surfing. He did propose to me. I did say yes, but I don't think that I was thinking all that stuff. I think I was still surf obsessed, but enjoying where I was for the first time in a long time.
Lisa's first turkey. You see those mashed potatoes?
Let's eat already.
I filmed you. At a close-up.
I don't think I'd ever felt like that, but I think that it just started to change. He had this bitter rivalry thing with him and the surf industry and the surf tour and the establishment. Sometimes the way he made it sound was that it was all, you know, BS. It wasn't cool, or it wasn't a great career, or it just wasn't something that I would be able to do. The success might be difficult for me. And I was like, I don't know, I don't believe that at all.
We go home now?
Yeah. Why, don't you feel good?
What should I do? Should I just give it up and just live here on a farm and surf? When it came time for me to travel to Australia, at that point, Dave and I weren't on good terms, and kind of things were just falling apart. Being typical Lisa fashion, I knew that when I went to Australia, I was gonna not contact him anymore. I look back now and I totally see how badly I broke his heart, and I'm really sorry for that. Australia was God's country. So much about Queensland was a lot like home. It was warm and it was sandy, and I felt super comfortable. I remember going there and I literally had $20 in my pocket or something, and you know, I was staying in a pub on the floor in my board bag, eating fish and chips every night for dinner and roughing it. I'm competing in the Bundaberg Pro, and I beat Pam Burge in the final. I won the contest. It was my first ever win on tour. It was like $8,000. Surfing was so much more of a lifestyle and professional sport in Australia. I was like, wow, okay, people really make a living here. Quicksilver was like Tom Carroll and Gary Elkerton and guys like Jamie Bristick and Danny Kwok, and this whole bunch of guys that I wanted to rub shoulders with and join the party of surfing and fun. Bruce Raymond from Quicksilver had heard about me, so I went over to his house to discuss a potential contract. Janice Raymond, she answered the door and she said, "Oh, isn't this a cute little boy? Where are you from?" And I just remember going, I'm Lisa. That was the beginning of the Quicksilver partnership. I wanted to impress him, and I wanted to just really make a statement when I got there, because it meant a lot to me to have the sponsorship. Going down to Bells Beach and winning in front of the whole Quicksilver company down there helped me get more support to continue to do the tour that year. I was living the dream for sure. Oh my gosh, I'm really on tour, and that's so-and-so, and there's so-and-so, and you know, everywhere the guys went, I got to tag along. You know, we had rental cars and we had good flights, and you know, I just was like, oh, it kind of made the big leagues. I met Jeff Hornbaker, and he was the photographer for Quicksilver. He was always like hanging out in Speedos. I was just kind of doing my thing and wearing guys' shorts and guys' clothes, and he was trying to work his magic. And then, you know, the whole Roxy egg was born. Being able to wear something that was fitted to me and modeled to my body was really cool. It kind of gave me this crazy confidence, because, you know, I was just kind of like the lone girl with this big group of surfer guys, and they were making board shorts for me. I was just in love with the brand and everything about it. We'd go on boat trips and, you know, never really been on a surf trip to get photos or to be in film. Little did I know we were on the cusp of this whole big movement in surfing, where women weren't just viewed as bikini models. They were the first ones to have a pro surfing event and sponsored girls all over the world, and it was just like this crazy little phenomenon where a brand has just created this friendship that just spreads through the world. Fun stuff is happening with Quicksilver, but I felt like the most inconsistent competitor ever because, you know, I would have hot and cold moments. I'd get mad at judges. I would have those flares of Parmenter in me, and I would just like blame this and blame that, and you know, I still had some fires to put out. Yeah, I just couldn't figure the competing side out of it. I wasn't really on at all.
Every day is a Saturday when you're a pro surfer.
Sometimes it was just, oh my gosh, I'm really on tour, and I might have a heat tomorrow, but just a couple beers. I should be fine.
Lisa is the most responsible person I think I've ever met in my whole life.
I guess because I didn't go to finish high school and I didn't go to college, I didn't have that time to have some fun.
1, 2, 3, go!
I think I was having a bit of fun. Having a little too much fun maybe, and risk of not even qualifying a few times and just not having the best results. There was that thing that was instilled in me by Dave about the judges and their whole way of judging and the criteria and how you're supposed to surf. I wanted to surf the way I wanted to surf, but I also wanted to win. So at some point I needed to fix that. And no one really talked to the judges on tour because it wasn't, you didn't hang out with them. The head judge at the time was Renato Hickel. I was out surfing Jeffreys Bay and dropped in on Renato. I was kind of trying to let him know, like, you're a judge, I'm a surfer, I don't like you. I might have gestured a finger gesture to him. He did say to me, hey, I could fine you if I wanted to, and some sort of weird sparks kind of happened there, and that's kind of how that little wild romance started.
Ooh la la! Get away! Oh my goodness!
So we had kind of a little bit of a fling, and no one knew about it, and it was kind of secret. It happened again and again.
Look at me. That's a perfect picture.
Flash forward to a couple events. We're in Hawaii for the end of the tour. I noticed in the morning that I wasn't well.
Check those legs. How was there?
Too big for me. Just felt not myself, and that I was very tired. I would go for a surf, but then I would sleep for 2.5 hours straight, like in the middle of the day, and I'm like, what's wrong with me? I had a bad habit of just trying to block things out of my mind and think it would just go away. I just remember going to Foodland there on the North Shore, and I was kind of hoping that it was a time of day that I wouldn't run into 20 people, because you always know somebody every time you walk in that place. So far so good, I'm cruising and I just go straight to the aisle. I grab the pregnancy test. I grabbed like some bread, something big that would kind of lay next to it, so it didn't you didn't really see it. I was just so worried that someone was gonna see me, and I get to the cashier, and sure enough, she's like, do you know how much this was? And I'm like, no, I'm not sure. And she just grabs the microphone. Price check on Clear Blue Easy. And I'm like, no, you gotta be kidding me. This is the worst thing that could ever happen. I didn't see anyone in the store. Before I knew it, I was gone and went straight back to the house and proceeded to take the test. It came back positive, and I was like completely freaked out. felt like I had ruined my career because of my irresponsibility. The tour judge. Could you get any more scandalous? I mean, this is stuff you can't even make up. I was like, what am I doing? I just got this great new sponsorship with Roxy, and no one's gonna sponsor me. I'm gonna be pregnant, and I just wanted to go to sleep and wake up and it would all go away, but I don't know, it's a maternal instinct that you want what's happening to you to happen. The alternative is just, it's not really a thought. I don't want to go through that. I still paddled out in my heat, knowing that I was pregnant. I was thinking, well, what if I have a wipeout and, you know, something awful happens? I feel like that heat was a turning point for me. I'd run away from so many things in my life that I wasn't gonna run away from this. Whatever happens, happens. You know, Renata was very supportive and happy about it.
She's beautiful, isn't she? My goodness gracious.
I was kind of ashamed and disappointed. So I felt like an obligation to keep going.
Is that Lisa? She's whipping.
If I could compete as long as I could and then have the baby, then I wouldn't lose my spot on tour. The whole beginning part of the pregnancy, I flew back to Brazil and lived in Florianopolis with Renato in an apartment and surfed every single day.
Hit the lead. Fly, baby, fly. That's beautiful.
Flew to Australia for the beginning of the year. No one on tour knew I was pregnant, just my sponsors. People knew that Renato and I were kind of dating. Whenever there was any kind of bad call, wrong score, it was always my fault, and it was always something to do with our relationship. Competed at Bell's, got 5th there. I mean, I was 4 months pregnant. I got to Western Australia, and that's where it kind of ended because the surf was too big. I was starting to get a little bit bigger, and it was uncomfortable. So I just show up to an event and forfeit, and then have to come out and tell the media in Australia and the ASP, well, I'm pregnant and I'm not gonna be able to do the tour. They were just looking at me like, so I had Erica during the OP Pro. She was born August 1st, which is always during that event. My mom and I became closer through it, which was cool.
It's daddy's girl. Oh, this was my first shower. As you can see, I didn't like it. Hi, sweetie.
I mean, the doctor said don't surf for at least 8 weeks. 2 weeks later, flew to La Canal to compete.
Okay, air contour.
Across the straits, Norfolk, Virginia, and
Baby, I heat.
Seconds in the water.
I remember checking in for my heat, and it was like pumping, and I was like, I'm not gonna sit here and watch. I'm gonna paddle out. Who knows, maybe I'll get lucky, I'll get a heat and I get more points. Like, I was just determined to qualify.
Okay, air contour.
The whole drama of babies and baby stuff and how much stuff we traveled with, I was exhausted.
Just arrived in Tokyo. It's air contour. Hey, mommy. This is our rental van. And here there is Erica sleeping. Yeah.
I needed to sleep, I needed to compete. Renato was staying up late and he was trying to work. Like, it was just crazy. Everything that we did was just crazy. Like, I don't know how we pulled it off. I had no time to mess around, party, chit chat, be distracted. Like, all those distractions are just constant. And with Erica there, I was focused either on her or the job. And so I think that that really helped me. All it started to click. So I ended up finishing 9th, just outside the number 8 spot. Well, Pam Bird retired that year. So guess who was number 8? Me, so it was all worth it. Doing what I did helped me, be seeded into the next year.
Huntington. You started here, your surfing career?
Yeah,
when you ran out of your home in Florida, you little troublemaker.
The miracle of having a child, like, it's what that child instills you that gives you the power to get it done. The strength, the determination, the heart.
La première, Lisa Andersen, Florida, USA. Lisa, all right.
I had such a huge lead in the beginning of the year that it was kind of crazy. I had the world title in my sights and things couldn't have been going any better. Every time I'd start to lose focus, I would just look down the beach and see Erica there playing in the sand, and it would all come back, everything that I was there for. Toward the middle of the year, I was out surfing, and something just snapped in my back. It was just like, what the hell? And I came in and I was just laying flat on the sand and I couldn't move. I was like, it felt like I was slightly paralyzed, like it was so much pain. We find out that there's a herniated disc. From having Erica surfing so much, but not really taking care of myself properly, like to heal properly, you know what I mean? All that stuff kind of caught up to me. So I forfeited the events in Hawaii that were coming up and went straight to Sydney and stayed with Bruce and Janice. Janice drove me every day to physical therapy. They put me in a program. Rob Rowland-Smith had me training in a swimming pool. Tom Carroll had me paddling. Everybody pitched in to help me get through the injury. I had a huge ratings lead. The person behind me was Pauline Menser. She had to win 3 events in a row to catch me. Well, she won both events in Hawaii, back to back. That was the last event. I needed to get a 5th place to win the world title. It was just unbelievable how everything had just come to that moment. I hadn't surfed in 3 months. And I just remember that Rob would come down and he would make me do a stretch that made me cry. It just hurt so bad. It was like he was trying to get me to get my mind off of all the other stuff, buzz and all the tension and this and that. And Erica's running around. There's just all this craziness. It was just like a flash of, knowing the consequence if I didn't win, that everything that I had done in my entire life leading up to that point would be erased. I just needed to go out and catch 3 waves to the beach and get the right scores, and then I'd win by just a nose. It just felt like it was the most impossible thing in the world to do at that point because of the pain. All the stuff I'd put my mom through and everything like that, I had to make it all better, and this was the way to do it. Yeah, it was just unexplainable. And I remember running into the beach, and Erica came running up to me, hugging me, and it was all because of her. It was all because of her. That little thing. I guess at the end of all of this, you start to realize that, you know, life's there to be living, and you just gotta, you know, take chances and take risks. And I mean, you don't intend to like hurt people and step on people along the way or break hearts, but you definitely need to be yourself. And I realized that finally I had to stop running and start living.
When I was 16, I ran away from home and I left a note under my mother's pillow telling her that someday I'd be a world champion. Look, Mom, I got the world title.